That's a nice pile of junk you got there, my boy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. If it is your first time and you think you might relate to what I'm doing, please have a look around, look at some of the older videos and see if you like any of the others, it'd be cool. Please comment on the videos, it'd be cool. Subscribe if you'd like. Thank you very much. Alright, so I've been doing a big old library tour, so looking at every book that I could find in my house. And sometimes they've been themed videos, so sometimes on an author, and actually just recently 2 boxes of science fiction books, so that was kind of a different kind of theme. But this is all about Stephen King. So I've got 60 books to look through, so I'm going to do them relatively quickly. But I just want to say first that Stephen King is a hugely important and brilliant writer, and I think he's very reliable. So I've read about half of the books that I own, and I haven't read one I haven't liked yet. So there's different degrees of how much I like them, but I haven't read one I don't like. But I have avoided some that I got a funny feeling about. So I do own some that I've been putting off. And there's the 2 big ones in size and status that I haven't read yet, because it just takes me a long time to read something like that. So I have read a lot of Stephen King, but I haven't read the 2 big ones, which I'll get to in a minute. But please comment below on these books. I'd love to know which Stephen King books you particularly like. I'm going to finish with my favourite 3 Stephen King books. Those are the last 3 I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to go through them relatively randomly up until the last 3. Let's start with this first book, Carrie. So this one was one, I've actually got 2 copies of this somewhere as well. I've got 60 books and there's a few duplicates. There's about 4 books that I've got 2 of. So it's not 60 separate books, by the way, as in separate books content-wise, but they are separate. They are 60 separate books. Anyway, there's another Carrie in there somewhere, but I've got Carrie. I like this. This is my favourite cover. But I really like this book. I only read it last year. I put it off because of the bullying. I thought I wouldn't be able to... I thought it would do my nutting, because I don't know what it is about bullying. But anyway, I really liked it. And the biggest bully in this book is her mother. Yeah. Cujo. I really like that book. That's a really good book. So that's quite a nice one to begin with as well, I think. If you're not used to Stephen King, try Cujo. It's a good one. The Dark Half. That's one I haven't actually read. You can see that. So it's written very, very subtly on the cover. The Dark Half. I do want to read this. This was written when I think he just had his accident. I think either that or was just recovering from his alcohol problem. I'm not sure, but there's some significance about him going through some sort of therapeutic process while writing that book. Apparently, The Green Mile. Really, really good, awesome, brilliant. Green Mile. Definitely recommend it. I don't want to rush too much. The Tommy Knockers. I haven't read this one, and apparently some people hate it. Some Stephen King aficionados say it's one of his weakest, but I haven't read this one yet. So the Tommy Knockers. Pleased to find a copy though. The Regulators. This is supposed to be good. So yeah, I haven't read this one yet. This is one of his Richard Bachman ones. So before he used his own name, he went under a pseudonym. So that was one of those. And actually, this one was one that he wrote after he used the Stephen King name, and he just wanted to use that name for it, which is interesting. There's the other Carrie. So there's Carrie. So this is that's a quite a good cover, to be fair. And there's a horrible bit in the book, but I like the other one more. But there's that Carrie. Just After Sunset. I've read some of this. So these are short stories, and yeah, I panicked for a minute. I thought, is it? Yeah, it is. Didn't get confused. And yeah, I've only read some of it, and I need to finish it off. But yeah, some good stuff in there. So my 2 copies of The Stand. So I bought that one first because I thought, oh, found it cheap, awesome, and it's not great condition. But It's there when I'm ready. This is one of the big ones that I haven't read. So I haven't read The Stand. So some people say I have to read this. It's literally his best work. But I don't know, because the things that people love about it, I don't know that that's what I love about Stephen King. I don't know. But I don't know enough about it to know for sure. But that's an old knackered copy. But then I found this, which was crazy. So this is a really good condition copy. It does that obviously because it's paperback, but it is actually really good condition. It's hardly been read, and it's really, yeah, really good condition. It was only like £1 or something stupid like that. It's brilliant. So yeah, that was a really good find. So yeah, that's possibly the version I'll read when I do read it. But that's my other copy of The Stand. This is one that I might not like. So Dreamcatcher, I'm only guessing from what people have said about it. From the reason, either the reason why they like it or the reason why they didn't like it. You watch these videos and you go, oh, okay, that sounds like I might veer on that side or rather than that side. So I haven't rushed to read this one. It's a nice copy though. It's very good condition. Again, I managed to get it second hand, but it's pretty much, it's new condition, but clearly not new because it's old paper. But it's pretty much perfect condition. So that's pretty good. So that's the good thing about hardbacks. As I've said before in videos, I'd gravitate towards paperbacks because I just like the pleasure of reading a paperback more. But hardbacks do last longer, it's got to be said. Right, what have we got here? Bare Bones. Yeah, this is good. This is one of his non-fiction ones. Conversations with Stephen King. So yeah, this is good. I like Bare Bones. Nice little nugget, that one. That's Blaze. So I haven't read Blaze. But I was really pleased to find it. Again, quite good, very good condition. It's in a second-hand shop. This is one of his crime books, and he's good at crime. He's reading quite a lot of crime books, and he's good at that, I think. Bag of Bones. That's good. It's a good book, and read a couple of years ago. I like Bag of Bones. Definitely a good one. That's the other one. It's the two that I think of, and I think of books that I've put off because I didn't think I'd like them. Dreamcatcher and Insomnia. So I've got Insomnia, but I'm not sure I'm going to like it. I think it might drag a bit. But, you know, who knows? It's there for when I'm ready. I'm actually going to say something at the end of the video if I remember. Again, no edits. I'm going to hopefully remember to say something about the whole reading thing and a possible reading project I'm going to do. If I can call it a project, I will call it a project. Cell, Stephen King. Another one I haven't read, and that's all about phones being used in this sort of nightmarish scenario, I think. Yeah, the event became known as the Pulse. The virus was carried by every cellular phone operating in the world. Within hours, those receiving calls would be infected. It's clearly a comment on how much we use our phones. But yeah, that looks good. Everything is eventual. I've read some of this. This is just another short story one. He's really, really good at short stories. And I've dipped into this one. Really good. And, you know, he's always reliable with his short stories, I think. Eyes of the Dragon. This is a fantasy book. So up until recently, it was a bit of a one-off. But he did write another one recently. Another fantasy book. But this is kind of all-out kind of epic fantasy, I think. But I haven't read it. But I do want to read this one. I almost read it at the end of last year. I almost bloody read it. This is a great book, A Dead Zone. Love this book. It's one of my favourite King books. And yeah, this copy I've had for a long time, actually. So yeah, really good. I like that kind of, to me, I think it might be a nostalgic thing, but I like that design, that kind of edition. So yeah, Dead Zone, fantastic book. From a Buick 8. See, that probably means I'm going to miss one out. I've fallen everywhere. From a Buick 8. Isn't that right, Stephen? From a Buick 8. That's one I haven't read. And I've heard various things about it. Ollie recently talked about it on his channel. But yeah, I definitely want to read that one. I haven't read that one. In nice condition again. Not been read too much. It's great. You know, you can wait. With good thing with Stephen King, because he's such a bestseller. And his stuff is out there so much, you don't really have to buy new copies of his books. I think almost everything is secondhand here. Rose Madder. So again, I've put this one off because of domestic violence. So I know there's domestic violence in it, and because of my childhood, basically, without saying too much. I can't really handle that very well. So, yeah, I've kind of avoided it. But I do want to read it. I'll try it. I don't know what I can do before I read it to cope with it. But I'm gonna read this. Rose Madder. Some people really like that book. Bazaar of Bad Dreams, another one I've dipped into. So I think it's like when I bought this one new, actually. When I first bought it, I kind of, those few days afterwards, I was kind of nipping into it and reading bits of it. So this is another short story book, and what did I read? Batman and Robin Have an Altercation. I read that. I read Bad Little Kid. I read Morality, Afterlife, Under the Weather, Little Green God of Agony. I read a few. Cookie Jar I read. The Bus is Another World. Yeah, I read actually more than half of it. So yeah, awesome. The Institute. I think that's underrated. I really like this book, and nobody really talks about it. And I heard somebody recently say they didn't like it, but I think it's really good. So yeah, The Institute, nice bit of Stranger Things-esque science fiction in the Institute. Skeleton Crew, awesome book, one of his best short story collections, and quite a significant book in his bibliography, I think. And again, this wasn't the original copy I had. The original copy had a skeleton on the front that I read first, but this is a lovely edition. It's like brand new. It doesn't even feels like anyone's read it. And yeah, it feels like no one's even opened the page much, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Skeleton Crew, lovely edition, lovely condition. Different Seasons, again, one of his best books, and I'd say a good recommendation for the first book you read by him if you're interested. So Different Seasons is fantastic. It's 4 novellas, and they are all really strong. So you've got Shawshank Redemption, absolute masterpiece. Apt Pupil, which is interesting, possibly. Yeah. I'll leave it there. Apt Pupil. The Body, which was what Stand By Me was based on, and The Breathing Method. They're all in Different Seasons. Really good. Dance Macabre. This is another really brilliant condition. This is not the condition that I read, but it's the one I've got now. And it's a fantastic book. It's a book about fiction. It's a book about horror. It's a book about his influences. It's really, really good. I definitely recommend this to anybody who reads. Even if you don't read horror, you'd probably find it interesting, because he's very good at talking about books as well. You know, I always think John Carpenter is really interesting talking about films, and I think Stephen King is always interesting talking about books and authors and writing in general. So Dance Macabre is a brilliant book. Under the Dome, I haven't read this one yet. This is one of the big ones. This was given to me by a really good friend, and I really appreciate the fact I've got it, but I haven't read it yet, and I really want to like it because I watched the first season of the series and I like the series. This is clearly going to go in different directions because it's massive, and I think the show did go in different directions anyway. But yeah, Under the Dome, some people love it, some people think it's way too long, and some people apparently don't like the ending. But I haven't read that one yet, so that's one. Where am I going to put that there? Dolores Claiborne, that's a really good book. I think, this, once you look at all of these books, you can really see that he's very good, he's very reliable, but he does write different kinds of books. So there's some themes or character types that come up a lot, but they get these different kind of tones, different feels in the books, I think, when you're reading them sometimes. And Dolores Claiborne's a bit different. So there's that one. This is another copy of Different Seasons, so I didn't realise I had 2 of those. So this is Different Seasons with the Shawshank Redemption advert as the cover. It's quite a good condition copy. I don't need to. I could use this excuse to see if I can whittle down my collections. I don't have the copies so much. I don't know. I personally like Thinner. So some people have said that this is a really terrible book. I liked it. It has got some racial stereotypes in it, but I don't think they're racial stereotypes in a really insulting way. It's basically using the gypsy as a magical curse, kind of witchy kind of character, which is clearly out of date. But is it that offensive? I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying it. Maybe it's not that offensive to me because I'm from the other side of the fence. But yeah, I thought it was good. I quite like the ending, which is a bit weird because I think a lot of people hate the ending. But I quite like the ending, and I didn't know where it was going to go. Didn't know how it was going to end. But yeah, I like Thinner. Sorry. This is an amazing book. Misery. This is one of his best, and I think a lot of people think it's one of his best. And I've had 2 or 3 different copies of this over the years, but this is the one I've got at the moment, which is part of the World Book Night thing. So someone must have given me this, or I might have found it secondhand. Oh yeah, I found it secondhand. I don't know that person. So yeah, awesome. So Misery, definitely recommend it. Amazing book, really good example of how well he writes. Elevation, this is one of his recent ones. He wrote this in a clump of books where he wrote loads together, and I think it might be why it's so short, and some people really don't like this. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm imagining it. I'm probably going to think it's just okay and not brilliant. I don't think I'm going to hate it, but I don't know. I haven't read it. But again, when he's ordinary, I think that's different to just being terrible. Gunslinger, this is the only Dark Tower book I've got, and I've got this to literally start me off on the Dark Tower, so I haven't bought the others deliberately in case I don't really get into this, but it's kind of his big magnum opus, this big series, the Dark Tower series, and I think it's pretty much the only thing that's missing from my collection is the Dark Tower stuff, I think, except for a couple of recent ones. So the Gunslinger I've got to read at some point. I could have started with this. This is my first Stephen King book. The first one I owned, the first one I read. It's actually, I've managed to get the original edition again, which was lovely when I saw this. I thought, I've got to have this. So I got rid of the other edition I had, where I changed it over the years, and I've got the original one back again that I first had, and I love it. So this is Night Shift. Night Shift is a very special book to me because it's my first entry into Stephen King, but I think it's also one of his best books. It's a short story collection, and it's the short story collection that includes Quitters Inc., which is one of the best stories ever written. So Night Shift, including Quitters Inc. Awesome. 2 of the stories were there was one called The Ledge as well. Well, 2 of the stories were made into Cat's Eye, the film, which is quite good. James Woods was in Quitters Inc. And I think that's got trucks in it, which was made into Maximum Overdrive, which is directed by Stephen King. Okay, so what's this? Okay, we can go to the trilogy. Let's go to the trilogy. This is the Mike Hodges trilogy. So I am currently part of a reading group called All About Holly, where we're reading books about Holly, a character that he released a titular book about her last year, and she is part of this investigation group, this PI group, and this is the original trilogy she appears in. So this starts with Mr. Mercedes, and then goes on to Finders Keepers, and then is End of Watch. So when you watch this, I probably have finished this. Probably. I'm currently just about to start it, and I've clearly read Mr. Mercedes and Finders Keepers over the last couple of months, and I really like them. I thought they were really good, and I expect this one to be good. But apparently this is a bit different, and the way it's set up in these 2 books, you can tell he's going to go in a different direction with this. And I think that's a pretty good thing about the trilogy, that they're different books. You know, they might follow on from each other and feature the same characters, but he's done something different with them. So that's the Mike Hodges trilogy. And on that note, that project also will include The Outsider next, which is actually not as big as I thought it was. What is it? 460 pages. So yeah, that's not, I kind of had it in my head that it was like 500 or 600 pages. So I should be able to get this done at the same time as everyone else. So there's The Outsider, which is a lot, I think, quite popular. I think a lot of people like this one. And then there's If It Bleeds, which is a short story collection that features a story with Holly in it. So I don't know. Do I know which one that is? No, I don't know which one it is. It might be the one called If It Bleeds, which is the biggest part of the book. But anyway, If It Bleeds is and also in that project as well. There's another one. The one called Holly, which I don't have yet. So I'll clearly get that for the project. So I will add to my collection with that and any other gaps at some point in the future. But Holly I will get very quickly. This is one that I've had on my TBR, my immediate TBR, for quite a while. I keep saying I'm going to read this because... So this goes back to last Halloween. I wanted to read this last Halloween, but that was months ago. So... yeah, I do want to read this because I think I'll really like this. Some people say it's too long. Even the people that really like this say that he could have shaved off 50 pages or so. But then, you know, that's often the case with Stephen King. The good stuff about what he does best, has a negative side. You know, the best thing about him is his characterization and how much he paints the landscape he's writing in. And sometimes he overdoes it. But if he didn't overdo it, there's the risk he wouldn't do it at all. And he's good at doing it. So it's a funny blessing in disguise, if you like. So anyway, Revival is one that I think I'd like, but we'll see. I haven't read that one yet. And there's a couple here that are on my immediate TBR as well. So The Long Walk, which Nick from another BookTube channel tells me I need to get to really quickly because he says it's brilliant. And loads of people say it's brilliant. I really don't like this edition of it. So if I like it, or even if I don't like it, I'll probably replace it with another version. I mean, it's ridiculous. Look at that. What sort of... You got to split the binding just to get to the edge of the margin. Look, it's mad. So yeah, I don't think that's a very good edition. But The Long Walk is there. Rewrote this one as Richard Bachman as well. And some point in the distant past, I had that book called the Bachman books, which had all of them, including Rage. And I don't have that anymore, which is a little bit annoying. I don't know where it went, but I definitely don't have it anymore. So The Long Walk, anyway, is definitely one I want to get to. As is Gerald's Game. So Gerald's Game, I think, again, it's a bit of a different kind of premise. It's a nice idea. And, I'm definitely keen to read this one. And again, I haven't seen the film. I don't want to see the film. Almost everything he's done has been adapted into a film. I haven't seen the film of this. But I do want to read this one. A lot of people like that book a lot. Okay, hold on. I need a refreshment. Nearly there, Stephen. There's 3 hard case crime books here. So it's the 3. He's only done 3 in this series, so he's given them 3 in this hard case crime. I collect the hard case crime books, so there's a bunch of them at the top there, which I've gone over before on my library tour. But these are the Stephen King ones. So there's Colorado Kid, which I'm going to read again. I didn't really like it that much. I didn't hate it, but it was the weakest one for me. But I'm going to read it again because, as I said, it's unusual for me to not like something he's written. I absolutely love the cover. So I'm going to read that one again. What didn't really connect. I liked this one later. I thought that was really good and really charismatic characters. It drew me in. Definitely liked it. So that's later. But the one I really liked, and I think it's one of his best books, is Joyland. Joyland is set in a fairground, like an amusement park kind of thing. And it allows him to explore a romantic side in his writing that I think he's good at. When he does it, he's really good at it. And he does it again in a book that you'll see in my top 3 books. And that's because he's good at that. So I think he should do that more often. I don't necessarily think he should write just a straight off romantic book, but when he's got those elements in it, I think it works really well. So yeah, Joyland I think is really, really good. I love it. I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those things that sometimes, like, some of his best books and some of my favorite books, when it's finished, you go, oh, because there's no more to read, and that enjoyment of that book has gone. So that was really cool. Okay, let's tackle that one in a minute. This one is 2 different versions of the same book. So I have 2 of these, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. So This is another bunch of short stories, but I haven't tapped into this one yet. And I've got two different ways I could tap into this. There's the man himself. Yeah, I need to get to this. You know, one of the good things about the short stories is you could just nip in and just read something quick. The only thing that stops you doing that is if you're in book events and you're in this sort of drive to try and get things read for the book events, and you kind of ignore a more loose attitude to reading, which you could have. You know, you could just pick up a random book and read a short story, couldn't you? But you don't tend to do that when you've got like a strict TBR. So that's definitely one of the things about BookTube, isn't it? So Nightmares and Dreamscapes, 2 copies of that. There's The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which is a very short novella, which appeared in a different book originally. What did it appear in? Does it say? No. I can't remember where it appeared, but yeah, I'll have that somewhere else in that other book, I think. But The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon is quite a popular one, actually. Whenever I see people talk about it, they say they liked it. So I do need to read that one. I'm running out of space to put these things. These are 2 new ones. So I clearly have quite a lot of Stephen King I could read, but I wanted to get these ones because they excited me and I saw them secondhand. So this was really cool to see. Billy Summers, again, I think he's really good at crime. So this is a crime thriller. And I think it's, you know, he's not just a horror writer, he's good at that as well. So I really wanted this. So when I saw it for a quid or whatever, I was really pleased to find it. Does it say on how much it was? No. So it might have been like $1.99 or something. It might have been a sticker like that. Or maybe I saw it down the road. If I saw it down the road, it would have been 50p. But anyway, Billy Summers, pretty cool. And again, even more recently, he released Fairy Tale. So this is another fantasy one. He doesn't do fantasy very often. Apparently, it's a bit of a book of 2 halves. I get a lot of people saying they like half the book, they didn't like the other half, which is interesting. But clearly, he's, you know, decades and decades and decades into his writing. He's written so many books and he's still writing good stuff. If people are really liking half the book, that's pretty good. And actually, Holly came out after that and people really like that. So, you know, he's still on his game, which is good. So that's Fairy Tale. This is one of the books he wrote with Peter Straub. So this is Black House. So I would have normally bought this after buying the Talisman. But unless I'm completely mad, I don't think I've got the Talisman. No, I haven't got the Talisman. But this was like really, really good condition, like crazy good condition. Pretty sure a new condition, but clearly not new because you can tell when it's older paper. But it isn't, the condition's new. And does it tell me how much it was? It was so cheap. It was like £3 or something in a second-hand shop. So I had to get it, even though I knew I wasn't going to read it straight away. So Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. A follow-up to The Talisman. Dr. Sleep. So this is the follow-up to The Shining. So I haven't read this yet. So I am expecting to like it, but a lot of people say they are disappointed by it, but it might be because they think it's going to be as good as that. But The Shining, is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And the only reason why I am not leaving it till last is because I've just chosen to say 3 books rather than my top 5 or something. It's definitely my top 5. I love this book. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Definitely one of the best Stephen King books. And it's very different from the film. So if you know anything about Stephen King's own opinions about the film adaptations of his work, you'll know that he doesn't like Kubrick's film. But it's very different. So it's not that surprising because it is very different. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And yeah, I've read it twice. It's awesome. So that's Dr. Sleep and that one. I've got 2 copies of Pet Sematary. So this is a great book. It's one of the most popular ones. I bought this one new. This is the copy I bought new. I don't really like the design much, but it's not bad. It's just a bit generic. But I mean, the cat does feature heavily in the plot, so it's not like completely random. But yeah, I don't know. Both of the covers aren't particularly amazing, but this is like really cool because I found this. I wouldn't have bought 2 copies. I don't need 2 copies, but this is like new condition, and I found it like for £1 or something. So I thought, well, I could get that and get rid of this one. Just haven't got rid of this one yet. So Pet Cemetery, that edition. So they're both Hodder editions. Like Hodder, the loads of his. I don't know if it's a standard thing that the deal is that he releases everything on Hodder now, but they most of the time you see him, it's on that publishing company. But yeah, Pet Cemetery, great book, absolutely great book, and very upsetting, very intense. Ultimately, a book about grief. I did review this on one of my Halloween videos. So yeah, Pet Cemetery, awesome, absolutely awesome. Okay, here's the big one that I haven't mentioned yet that I haven't read. So I should have read this by now, and I'm going to pick a time. I think I said this to someone else on BookTube. We're going to read it together, I think. So remind me who that is. If you see this, whoever that person is, we'll read it together. I haven't read it yet, and I wasn't even going to buy it until I thought I was going to read it. And then again, I found this like pretty much perfect condition, new condition copy, really cheap. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, it's a really lovely condition. It's not that old. You can tell, you smell it, and you know it's not that old. So I don't know what happened. Maybe someone bought it for someone else and they didn't want it. But yeah, need to read this. Haven't read it yet. And yeah, the other one is 4 Past Midnight. So before I go on to the last 3, my top 3 books by him, then there's 4 Past Midnight. I actually left that out by accident, so I just found it. But yeah, The Sun Dog is my favourite story in that one. I think it's really good. Okay, I'm going through this as quickly as I can. And I've got me familiar up there to kind of encourage me. And now we're on to the last 3 books, my 3 favourite books by Stephen King. So as you can see from the video already, there's some I still need to read, and they might topple these, but I just love these books so much. So let's start with my number 3, which is Salem's Lot. I think Salem's Lot is a really powerful and gripping thriller, supernatural vampire book. It's an amazing book, and the characters in it are brilliant. He paints the town very vividly. This is what he's good at, and that's true for the next book as well, I'm going to mention. But yeah, you really do care about the people in it, and it's just fantastic. And to be fair, the villain totally creeped me out. So yeah, Salem's Lot, amazing. Okay, number 2 for me is Needful Things. I'll tell you what, I'll show you this one first. This was the first edition I had, which I actually quite like. I quite like this edition. It's a hardback edition. There's the man himself. And yeah, I like this edition. It's good condition, actually. This was one I read when I read it most recently. But then I found this version. Again, I always prefer paperbacks. Ow. But I found this edition, which I think is really good. I like this. I like the design. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. And it has been read. You can see from the spine it has been read. There's lots of lines going down it, so clearly it's been used. But actually, if you kind of have a sort of a feel for it, it doesn't feel too used. So it's nice condition. And you know, you can tell from the cover that it's been looked after. So yeah, I don't know whether to get rid of one of these. But Needful Things is my second favourite Stephen King book, which is a big statement because I do love his stuff. And my favourite Stephen King book, and I love it. And a lot of people praise it, which is cool, but some people are like, what? You like that one? It's not even horror. Some bits of it are horrible though, so it might not be supernatural horror, but it's got some nasty bits in it. And that is 11/22/63. I love it, absolutely love it. I don't know if I did a video of this. Did I do a video? If I didn't, I ought to do a video about this book because it's fantastic. I did do a video about, I'll tell you what I have done. My top 10 favourite Stephen King books. That was ages ago. I did it about 2 years ago. So I did talk about it then. So that's what I was thinking. I did talk about it then. And I talked about all the others, obviously. I talked about 10 books by him. And I was going to do another 10 soon, actually. Going to talk about another 10. But I love this. It's brilliant. It's big, so I definitely think you can take off 150 pages, 200 pages, and it still works. 700 pages. It doesn't have to be 700 pages. But even though it's not faultless, you know, you can definitely say it's got that issue. I think it's so brilliant. The plot's brilliant. The characters are brilliant. The ending is fantastic. It really gets you. It's such a good idea because it starts off with the idea of a man with the with the potential to go back in time and stop the JFK assassination, and it goes off in a crazy direction, and it's just awesome. And what it ends up not being about that. I don't want to tell you what it's going to be, what it ends up being about, but it's about something and someone else, and someone he meets when he goes back in time, and it's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. 11/22/63. So it's kind of like a backdrop or an excuse for another story in a lot of ways. So yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So there we are. 60 books, Stephen King. The man was amazing. I managed to do it relatively quickly, I think, but it's going to do my iPad's head in, so I think we're just going to slap it onto YouTube as it is. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Stay curious and enjoy every second of life. Thanks. Bye.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to be you.